Alright, we only got a few more pay-per-views left to end the year with, and what fight is gonna stick in our minds going into 2026? The biggest fight, the number one fight that's gonna affect 2026 the most is definitely Islam Makhachev versus Jack Della Maddalena. No doubt about it. I had to look at the card because we're looking at 320 coming up. That's a pretty good card, right? 321 with Tom Aspinall. Female co-main event with Mackenzie Dern. So I was like, okay, let the super fight be the big card then, alright? JDM versus Islam Makhachev. This card deserves to be stacked. For the simple fact of, let's not end 2025 how we started it. Let's not end it like shit. Let's end the year with a good taste in our mouth. And on top of that, these fighters need all the shine they can get. We gotta bring this fight to life. The hardcores know how good this fight is. But let's be real. Not a lot of casuals know about Jack. Alright? Not a lot do. And we're gonna get a fight for the ages. No one knows what the hell's gonna happen with this fight. It deserves a banger card. We gotta put more eyeballs on this card. Remember back in the day, the Conor fights were stacked. Well, this is a super fight. Sure, there's no Conor in this fight in the main event. But this is one of those fights that deserve the best because it's in New York City on top of that. Actually, fuck New York, right? All their rules and regulations. But, I mean, Madison Square Garden is a legendary arena. It's not about New York, but MSG. I remember how good the MSG cards used to be, right? GSP versus Bisping. McGregor versus Alvarez. And those cards were stacked. UFC 205, UFC 217. But I'm not seeing good stuff on this card. Far from it. Take a close look. This is the trending topic. This is what all the buzz about this card is. Aside from the main event. Guess who's making his return? Bo Nickal is back, baby. Bo Nickal. And they're probably going to put him on the main card. I think it says he's on the prelims. But we all know the UFC can rearrange the bout order in the drop of a dime. So many times this year, I've seen fights that were on prelims end up on the main card. And so many times this year, I've seen fights that were scheduled for the main card that wound up on the prelims somehow. They could switch the order of the fights the day of. So, if Bo Nickal's on the prelims, like in this photo, let's not fall for it. Let's not say, oh, he's on the prelims like he should be. I would bet a lot that Bo Nickal's gonna be on the main card, on the pay-per-view of Islam Makhachev versus JDM. And what the fuck is that about? He already was on the pay-per-view of UFC 300. Looking back, that aged poorly. That aged like shit. What was he doing on the main card of UFC 300? Yuri should have had that slot, right? But yeah, guys, you know, Bo Nickal is gonna be on the main card of UFC 322. How amped up are you for this shit? How excited are you for this shit? Let's cue the highlight reel. Aside from the main event, this is what we gotta get excited for, alright, guys? This right here. And just like that, it's over. It's all over. Bo Nickal folded like a lawn chair in seconds. In literally seconds. It's done. Bo Nickal loses to the Brazilian. Who'd they schedule him to fight? I don't know. I just started raging right away when I seen Bo Nickal was on the card. Not mad at Bo. But the fact that that's the headline. There's nothing else to talk about but Bo Nickal, a prelim fighter, has been added to the card. As you can clearly see, what headlines can be made about 322? Okay? We got the Carlos Prates fight announcement with the half-dead Dana White on an airplane with shitty camera quality and audio. Alright? So we got that announced. Carlos Prates, just like JDM. Another badass, another exciting fighter. But Prates just fought. And I love an active fighter. But come on, there's so many fights that need to happen before Carlos Prates' next fight. Let's be real here. We're all picking him to smoke Leon Edwards. How has Leon's last 2 performances looked? Right? They looked like shit. Looked like shit against Colby. He looked like shit against Bilal. Okay. We're all predicting Carlos Prates to flatline Leon Edwards in a round. That'll probably happen. Okay, we'll have 5 minutes of fun. What else are you going to give me on this card? Okay, maybe one of the best female fights on paper, right? Shevchenko versus Weili. The UFC female fights. That's cool. That's cool. I like that fight, but it's taking up a main event slot or a co-main event slot. Someone might say, how dare you disrespect a super fight and say it doesn't deserve to be co-main event. I don't care for this as a co-main event. I'd be more hyped about this fight if it was like second fight on the pay-per-view, alright? Last Valentina Shevchenko co-main event was on UFC 315. It was Shevchenko versus Ferro, and I fell asleep to that co-main event. I fell asleep. That's how boring it was, okay? I know Shevchenko's good, but watch her last fight. And if Weili, if Zhang Weili is so damn awesome, if she's so cool, how come no one is talking about her last fight? Wasn't it on the biggest card? Wasn't it on UFC 300? Alright, correction. Zhang Weili fought on UFC 312 against Tatiana Suarez. That fight was so fucking boring, I forgot about it. And I know a lot of it's to do with Tatiana Suarez, right? But do you see the trend here? Weili's last fight was boring. No one's talking about it. Shevchenko's last fight was boring. No one's talking about it. It's interesting on paper, but at the end of the day, we're winding up with another female fight co-main event. And the one before that, on the pay-per-view before 322, on the Aspinall card, is even worse. Well, obviously, it's Mackenzie Dern versus Jandiroba. Someone named Jandiroba. Trandiroba. If it's such a good fight, why is the biggest headline that I'm seeing Bo Nickal has been added to UFC 322? I don't mind seeing that headline, but there's nothing else to talk about. I thought at the end of the year, we were supposed to get big pay-per-view cards, stacked cards, not only interesting main events. Dana White was just doing the boxing, talking about, I'm going to build boxing cards, and you're going to want to watch them. From the first fight, all the way to the last fight. How are you going to do that if you can't even do that with your UFC cards? Does anyone want to watch Angela Hill versus what's her name? Fatima Klein? Does anyone want to see Gerald Meerschaert fight again? He's the second fight up. Does anyone want to see Aaron Blanchfield up there? Aaron Blanchfield versus Tracy Cortez. Does anyone want to see that fight? Those are the first 3 fights I'm seeing on Google, alright? Angela Hill versus Fatima Klein. Kyle Dawkins versus Gerald Meerschaert. Aaron Blanchfield versus Tracy Cortez. We gotta suffer through those 3 fights. I know I'm talking about the prelims here, but the main card's shit. And then after that, we get Bo Nickal versus Rodolfo Vieira. And then Roman Kopylov, the guy who just lost to Costa, fighting RoboCop. RoboCop hits hard, but other than that, he's not that interesting of a fighter. Alright, then we get Susukayev, who's apparently really good, but he's the new kid on the block. And he's fighting Eric Mikhaniko. That should be a walk in the park for him, right? If this guy's really that good. I seen Eric Mikhaniko get knocked out. Okay, we got a one-sided fight on here with the prospect. Okay? Then after that, a higher level, a more intriguing one-sided fight. Prates versus Leon Edwards. But man, I love watching a Prates fight, but like I already said, there's so many welterweights that need to fight before I want to see another Carlos Prates fight. Why not Belal versus Usman? Now that'd be a good card or a good fight to put on this card. Belal versus Usman, that makes sense. Because both those guys have history with Islam Makhachev. Usman is calling out Islam Makhachev. He wants to fight him. Former pound for pound versus current pound for pound. And then Belal, you know, he's kind of friends with Islam, but Islam isn't friends with Belal type of vibe. I would rather see Sean Brady versus Ian Gary as the welterweight featured fight on this card over Prates versus Edwards. I would rather have a closer fight of top level guys where I don't know who's going to win. I just think Edwards is washed. And I think you guys think that too. But I'm not hating on Prates. I will always watch a Prates fight. Just too soon. There's some other important welterweight fights that need to happen before we book Carlos Prates another fight. And then we got it. We get it. Super fight. Woo! Shevchenko versus Weili. But I guarantee you have not watched Weili's last fight since it happened. And I guarantee you have not watched Shevchenko's last fight since it happened. Because they're boring. You will never go back and watch Shevchenko versus Ferro on your own time. You're never going to pull up Zhang Weili versus Tatiana Suarez while you're working out. While you're at the gym. You're never going to pull that up to get you pumped up to work out or something. You're just not. You're not even going to pull it up to study tape. No one watches those fights. They have no replay value, okay? So, interesting fight on paper. But you guys are talking like fireworks are going to happen. Tell me down below what's going to happen in Weili versus Shevchenko that's so damn good that this deserves to be co-main event to Islam Makhachev versus Jack Della Maddalena. This is a main event heavy card. We were shooting for the stars with this card. We were thinking Aspinall versus Jones, MSG, John Jones, a New York guy. We were thinking big. And we got a big fight here. This is a big main event. Jack versus Islam. But that undercard is trash. Same with UFC 321. We got to do something about this. We cannot let the UFC say they're cooking just because of a good main event. We can only let the UFC say they're cooking if the whole main card is approved by the fans. There's tons of guys that need to fight, and they're not getting booked. What's going on here? I love this fight, but I hate this card. Comment down below, hit like, hit subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time.